Right now, somewhere in your bathroom there is a tube of toothpaste, and printed on that tube is a promise: whitening, enamel protection, clinical strength fluoride, fresh breath for 12 hours. But here is what the tube does not tell you. For most of human history, people cleaned their teeth without any of that. No paste, no tube, no mint flavoring, and their teeth were often better than yours. This is the hidden history of toothpaste. Go back to ancient Rome. The year is 100 AD. A Roman citizen wakes up and reaches for his tooth-cleaning mixture. What is in it? Ground bone, crushed oyster shell, powdered charcoal, and human urine. Aged human urine, collected from public containers around the city. Why urine? Because urine contains ammonia. Ammonia is a powerful cleaning agent. The Romans didn't know the chemistry, but they knew it worked. Their teeth were clean, their breath was tolerable. And the urine trade was profitable enough to be taxed. The Emperor Vespasian taxed it. His son complained the tax was undignified. Vespasian held up a coin and said something that became famous: pecunia non olet. Money does not smell. But here's the part that stops people cold. Urine-based tooth powder was not a desperate measure. It was the sophisticated choice. Wealthy Romans used it. Doctors recommended it. Poets wrote about it. And it wasn't just Rome. Ancient Egyptians mixed burnt eggshell, pumice, and ox hoof ash. Ancient Greeks used charcoal and talc. In India, neem twigs both cleaned teeth and released natural antibacterials into the gums. These were not primitive solutions. They were carefully developed over thousands of years. Then Rome fell, and with it fell most of what Rome knew about dental care. What replaced it? Nothing. For centuries, most of Europe simply did not clean their teeth. Monks prayed over toothaches. Barbers pulled teeth. And the remedy for a cavity was often the same as the remedy for a headache: a prayer and a bloodletting. Why did dental knowledge collapse so completely? Because it was oral tradition, not written, not preserved. When the cities emptied and the libraries burned, the recipes went with them. By the medieval period, tooth loss was so common it was expected. Peasants expected to be toothless by 40. And they were. Not because they were lazy. Because they had no tools, no knowledge, and no one to teach them differently. Here's what changed everything: sugar. When trade routes opened and sugar arrived in Europe from the Caribbean, it did something no disease had ever done. It destroyed teeth across an entire continent, systematically, within 2 generations. Queen Elizabeth I was famous for her black teeth, not a rare case, a typical case. She ate sugar, the sugar rotted the teeth, and there was nothing to stop it. By the 1700s, dentists, such as they were, began experimenting with tooth powders again. Chalk, brick dust, burned bread, salt. These were sold in small tins. You dipped a wet rag into the powder and rubbed it across the teeth. No brush, no tube, just a rag and a prayer. Then, in 1824, a dentist named Peabody added soap, actual soap, to tooth powder. Why? Because soap lathered. Because lather felt like cleaning. Because the sensation of foam was reassuring to customers who had no other way to know if the product was working. Sound familiar? And in 1873, Colgate introduced the first mass-produced toothpaste. It came in a jar. You scooped it out with a finger. It smelled like chalk and tasted like soap. It sold moderately well. But here is the moment everything changed. In 1892, a Sheffield dentist named Washington Sheffield put toothpaste into a collapsible metal tube. Suddenly, toothpaste was portable, sealed, hygienic, measurable. Sheffield's invention was brilliant, but Sheffield himself barely profited from it. Colgate adopted the tube format and turned it into a global standard. Sheffield sued. He lost. The tube was his idea. The empire was someone else's. I'm Aidan Thomas of Hidden History. And here is where the story gets genuinely dark. By the 1900s, toothpaste was common, but cavities were still epidemic. Children lost teeth young. Adults lost teeth young. Dentistry was the most feared medical appointment in the world, and nothing seemed to stop the rot. Then a Colorado dentist noticed something strange. His patients had mottled, discoloured teeth, but almost no cavities. He spent years searching for an explanation. The answer was fluoride, naturally occurring fluoride in the local water supply. Trace amounts of fluoride dramatically reduced tooth decay. The science was clear. By 1945, Grand Rapids, Michigan became the first city to add fluoride to its water supply. Results were staggering. Childhood tooth decay dropped by 60%. So who fought it? Almost everyone. The American Dental Association spent 15 years resisting fluoridation. Why? Because it threatened the business model. Healthy teeth meant fewer patients, fewer procedures, less revenue. Then Procter & Gamble did something audacious. They funded the clinical trials themselves. They lobbied the ADA from the inside, and in 1960, Crest became the first toothpaste to receive the ADA seal of acceptance. A soap company fixed the teeth, and the dental establishment spent 15 years trying to stop it. Here's a question nobody asks. How much toothpaste do you use? Look at any toothpaste advertisement. The brush is loaded end to end. A full stripe of paste, curling at both ends. Abundant, satisfying, visually complete. But dentists recommend a pea-sized amount. A pea, not a stripe, not a curl. A pea. Why the stripe? Because it uses more toothpaste. More toothpaste used means more tubes purchased. More tubes purchased means more revenue. The advertisement is not showing you how to brush. It is showing you how to consume. This was not accidental. In the 1950s, toothpaste companies hired behavioral psychologists to study tube usage. They found that slightly widening the tube opening increased paste output by 30% without the consumer noticing. The hole got wider. The paste ran out faster. Revenue increased. And the stripe became the standard image of dental care because a tube company showed it to you on television, and people believed it. Read the back of the toothpaste tube. Go on, find it in your bathroom and read it. Sodium fluoride. Good. That is the only ingredient doing meaningful dental work. Sodium lauryl sulfate. You know this one. Same foaming agent as your shampoo. Added for sensation, not for cleaning. Sorbitol, a sweetener, because toothpaste without sweetener would not taste good enough to sell. Titanium dioxide, a whitening pigment. It makes the teeth look temporarily brighter. It does not whiten, it reflects. And then there is the flavour, mint. Almost universally mint. Why mint? Because in the early 1900s, Claude Hopkins, one of the great advertising minds of his generation, ran a campaign for Pepsodent toothpaste. He didn't sell clean teeth. He sold a feeling, a tingle. The tingle meant it was working, he said. The tingle was the sign of health. The tingle was mint and citric acid. It did nothing, but it became the signal that people used to decide if their mouth felt clean. You've been chasing that tingle ever since, and civilization calls it hygiene. Here is the irony. The best tooth cleaning technology on earth does not come in a tube. The miswak, a stick from the Salvadora persica tree, used continuously for over 1400 years across the Islamic world, mentioned in the Hadith, used daily by an estimated 600 million people right now. Clinical studies show it matches or exceeds the performance of a standard toothbrush with toothpaste. natural fluoride, natural antibacterials, natural astringents, no packaging, no marketing, no $6.99 tube, and it predates Colgate by several thousand years. But there is no miswhack at the supermarket checkout, because a stick costs nothing, and a tube costs almost nothing to produce but a great deal to buy. The economics of dental care were never about the teeth. They were always about what you could be persuaded to put in the mouth on a daily basis. The ancient Romans taxed urine because it cleaned teeth. Modern companies sell you foam because it feels like cleaning. The substance changed. The logic did not. That tube in your bathroom is not the end of the story. It is barely the beginning. Every object in your home has a hidden past, and most of them have been shaped not by science or need, but by someone's decision about what people should believe. I'm Aidan Thomas of Hidden History. Take a look around. History is everywhere. Next week we're staying in the bathroom. Before deodorant existed, body odour wasn't a problem. Then one company invented the disgust and built a $24 billion industry on it.